We keep hearing the name Blue Origin, but rarely for the right reasons. Lately, when Blue Origin shows up in the headlines, it's usually tied to delays, technical problems, or missed timelines, not major achievements or breakthroughs. And what they've done most recently honestly makes that pattern even worse. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what happened, look at the technical and operational details, and explain why this moment is being viewed as embarrassing. Before we go any deeper, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more fact-driven updates like this. For years, people have kept saying the same thing about Blue Origin, that the company is playing the long game, that it's moving slowly on purpose, that eventually it will catch up to SpaceX and maybe even surpass it. But now we're at the end of 2025, and the situation isn't just disappointing for Blue Origin, it's borderline embarrassing. Not because they failed once or twice, but because the gap between them and SpaceX has become structural, measurable, and very hard to explain away. Before we go any deeper, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more grounded updates like this, where we focus on what companies actually launch, build, and deliver, not what they promise. Just a few days ago, Blue Origin launched another New Shepard mission. Once again, it was a suborbital flight carrying tourists. The mission profile hasn't changed since 2021. The vehicle reached just over 100 kilometers in altitude, provided about 3 to 4 minutes of microgravity, and returned to Earth roughly 10 minutes after liftoff. No orbital insertion, no second-stage burn, no long-duration systems, no heat shield exposed to orbital re-entry velocities of 7.8 kilometers per second. It was the same short-hop Blue Origin has flown more than 20 times. This matters because New Shepard is not testing anything new anymore. The BE-3 engine has flown dozens of times. The booster landing profile is identical every flight. The capsule systems are mature. There is no expanding envelope. Meanwhile, other companies are testing lunar landers, cryogenic propellant transfer, deep space navigation, and reusable orbital-class vehicles. To put this into context, while Blue Origin is still flying 6 passengers to the edge of space, NASA's Artemis program is preparing for sustained lunar surface operations. SpaceX is building Starship variants designed to deliver over 100 metric tons to low Earth orbit. China is assembling a multi-module space station and targeting crewed lunar landings in the early 2030s. Even private companies like Astrobotic are flying lunar payloads right now. Blue Origin's flagship flight in late 2025 was a tourism mission that didn't even attempt orbit. Now compare that with SpaceX. In 2023, SpaceX launched 96 orbital missions, almost all of them Falcon 9. In 2024, they surpassed 100 launches in a single calendar year for the first time in history. In 2025, as of late December, SpaceX has already launched over 110 times, averaging more than 2 launches per week for extended periods. This isn't projection, it's documented launch cadence. The success rate during this period has remained above 98%. Booster reuse has become standard. Multiple Falcon 9 first stages have exceeded 20 flights each. One booster crossed its 25th flight in 2025. Fairing halves are routinely recovered and reflown. Turnaround times between booster landings and reflight have dropped below 2 months in several cases. That launch cadence produces measurable results. Falcon 9 launch costs are estimated to be under $30 million internally per mission, with commercial pricing still far below competitors. SpaceX can afford to lose a booster occasionally because production rates exceed loss rates. They manufacture Merlin engines and Falcon stages at a pace that no other launch provider currently matches. Now contrast that with Blue Origin. As of the end of 2025, Blue Origin has attempted to reach orbit only twice with its New Glenn rocket. The first orbital attempt suffered issues during ascent that prevented full mission objectives from being met, including incomplete first-stage recovery objectives. The second launch showed improvement, but still experienced anomalies that prevented Blue Origin from declaring the vehicle operational. No commercial payloads were delivered to orbit on either flight. New Glenn is powered by 7 BE-4 engines on its first stage. Each BE-4 produces roughly 2,400 kilonewtons of thrust at sea level. burning liquid oxygen and liquid methane. On paper, this should place New Glenn in the same performance class as Falcon 9. But engine performance on paper means nothing without flight history. As of now, the total cumulative flight time of BE-4 engines on New Glenn is tiny compared to Merlin engines, which have accumulated millions of seconds of burn time across hundreds of launches. What many people find ironic is how closely New Glenn resembles Falcon 9 in overall concept. A two-stage, partially reusable orbital rocket, a reusable first stage designed to land vertically, grid fins for atmospheric control, a drone ship landing strategy rather than land-based recovery. Even the recovery operations resemble SpaceX's approach from nearly a decade ago. This is where the criticism about copying comes from. And to be clear, copying a proven architecture isn't a problem by itself. The issue is that SpaceX validated this architecture through failure and iteration starting in 2013. Blue Origin didn't begin orbital testing with New Glenn until the mid-2020s. By that time, SpaceX had already landed hundreds of boosters and normalized reuse. Even drone ship landings highlight the gap. SpaceX lands Falcon 9 boosters on autonomous drone ships with success rates exceeding 95%. These landings are so routine that failed recoveries are now rare enough to make headlines. For Blue Origin, each recovery attempt is still treated as a major milestone rather than a standard operation. Then there's the BE-4 engine program itself. Development delays pushed the engine years behind schedule. Those delays didn't just affect Blue Origin, they directly impacted United Launch Alliance, which relies on BE-4 for the Vulcan rocket. While SpaceX iterated through Merlin upgrades and moved on to full-flow staged combustion with Raptor, Blue Origin spent nearly a decade getting BE-4 to a flight-ready state. Meanwhile, SpaceX produces Raptor engines at a rate of multiple units per week. Design changes are incorporated continuously. Engines are tested, flown, destroyed, and replaced without halting the overall program. That kind of production tempo doesn't exist at Blue Origin. This is why the comparison matters. It's not about hype or vision statements, it's about output. SpaceX launches over 100 times per year. Blue Origin flies New Shepard a handful of times and has yet to complete a clean, fully successful orbital campaign with New Glenn. SpaceX delivers payloads, crews, and revenue on every flight. Blue Origin's most visible product remains a 10-minute experience for wealthy passengers. Some people say it's not fair to compare Blue Origin and SpaceX. They argue the companies are too different, that they started from different places, or that they're playing different games. But when you look at the facts, that argument falls apart. These two companies actually have a lot in common, especially in how and when they started. Both companies were founded by billionaires who could personally fund their space ambitions. Blue Origin was founded by Jeff Bezos in 2000. SpaceX was founded by Musk in 2002. That's only a 2-year gap, so Blue Origin can't reasonably point to timing as an excuse. They also shared a similar early belief in reusability. In 2015, SpaceX successfully landed a Falcon 9 booster. That same year, Blue Origin landed its New Shepard booster. At that moment, the two companies looked closely matched. Both were demonstrating vertical landings, autonomous guidance, and reusable hardware. Many people in the industry thought they were on roughly the same path. Their long-term goals also sounded similar. SpaceX talked openly about Mars and large-scale human settlement. Blue Origin talked about millions of people living and working in space. Different destinations, but the same idea of building a future space economy, not just launching rockets for governments. The real difference started to show between 2014 and 2016. SpaceX made orbital launches its top priority. Falcon 9 flew often, sometimes failing, but improving each time. By 2017, Falcon 9 was launching multiple times per month. In 2018, SpaceX introduced the Block 5 version, designed specifically for high reuse. By the early 2020s, SpaceX was launching dozens of times per year, then over 100. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.